In this little video, I'm going to outline bullet points how you can take a simple mesh and rig and get it into Godot. I'm not going to go over all the nitty gritty. I think there's value in going and learning things yourself, but I will outline the bullet points and some technical heaps and hurdles I had to overcome to get to where we are today. This is the system I've been using for creating the game, and hopefully it helps. Give any feedback and enjoy the video. Okay, you're going to want to start by getting a gun mesh or some kind of thing you want to rig up to get in your game. You're also going to want some kind of arms rig. This is the thing that's, going to be holding the gun or melee weapon, depends what you're going for. And you want it to be IK'd preferably. Just a quick note, my guy has a detachable arm cannon, so his IK rig doesn't exactly line up perfectly where he's trying to hold it, but that's fine. I'm sure you'll be just okay. Now this is completely up to you, but whenever I make my rigs, I like to make sure that all my mesh is part of the exact same mesh instead of different components. If I was like to grab this and do separate selection, it can just get a bit complicated when you export to Godot later on with different meshes all over the place. Just grab all your meshes, join them together, but before you do that, just make sure to apply your mirror modifiers or things might get a bit ugly. Alright, so as of now, we're not too worried about scale, sizing, or anything like that. Just go ahead and grab yourself a new armature. Just roughly get this where you want it. It doesn't have to be precise. I typically tend to just like get it around about there. I'm not even worried about the origin just yet. I'm going to edit all that later on. So yeah, get yourself a bone here. I often like to as well make sure the viewport is in front. I forgot how to use the software. There you go, cool. So get yourself a viewport like that, press E to extrude another bone. You can come in here, do Control P and disconnect the bone. And this is going to be the cylinder for me. I'm not too worried at the moment where the cylinder lines up perfectly with the mesh. But we might also want the hammer to be animated as well. So let's just Shift D to create the hammer. And yeah, so now we got the hammer bone here, we've got the cylinder bone here. This guy's going to rotate, and this guy is going to be what everything else is to attach to. Boom, I lied to you. Now we care about where the hammer aligns with the mesh and also the cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead, grab this face here, cursor selected, go back in here, tab to go into edit mode, selection to cursor. Now that is perfectly lined up with the cylinder. So when that rotates, this guy's going to rotate as well. Do it the same here with the hammer. We want to be a bit more delicate with this one. We don't want it to be rotating on a stupid axis. So come here, grab that, select that face there, grab this hammer here and Shift E. But we also want to do a bit of cleanup work here, make sure that lines up a little bit better with that. Awesome, groovy. Now we're going to go back to our rig, grab this bone right here. We're going to rename him a root, name whatever the root you want. That's what I'm going to call him. I'm going to call this guy cylinder. Oopsie daisies, learn to spell, very important. And this will be hammer. Yep, cool beans. If you ever have any crazy rotations or things ain't quite right, but if you go ahead and look at your edit bone, for example, you'll see that's perfectly fine, but then when you go and edit, it's like that. Just do yourself a favor, hold Alt, G to reset positions, and R to reset rotations. That'll put it just back to how it looks in the edit pose. Okay, so we've made a little skeleton here, pretty simple. We're just gonna go ahead and click on the mesh, then click on the rig. Then we're gonna go and press Control P, go down to empty groups. So now these are parented together. We're then gonna go onto the mesh. Oh, if you hide stuff with H, just do Alt H to bring it back. So I press H there and Alt H to bring it back. There you go. So in here again, so we want the cylinder to be parented to the cylinder. So click on the cylinder vertex groups. Click that. Now that's assigned to there. And you'll see that if I come into pose mode and I move this, now the cylinder moves. Woohoo! So we want to make sure that everything else is parented to the correct thing. You'll see that when I'm pressing L to select all, it's not necessarily selecting all the entire mesh. We don't want that. Press it's because it's been cut up by the UV seams. Press normal, so the delimiter is just going to do everything, and it's going to select everything in turn. So we want to grab everything that isn't the hammer or the cylinder, like so. We're going to come up to root, assign, boom, there you go, that's working now. Let's proofs in the pudding, as they say. Now let's me move the root. You see everything's moving but the hammer. Even the cylinder, so I could rotate the cylinder wherever I want it. You see, sticking with it, groovy. Let's sort the hammer out while we're here real quick. Click on the mesh, click on that, click on hammer, assign. Come back out of here. And now when we move the hammer, you see it's all worked together. Absolutely groovy. All right, sweet, you've rigged your gun now. Let's go ahead and create a new file because we're gonna link all these stuff together. Kill all the default stuff because that's how we roll. We want to save this as, ooh, let me think. We're gonna call this one player arms gun. No, that's a terrible name. Revolver. In your player arms revolver blend file, we're gonna go ahead and link. So we need to link two things here. First things first, we're gonna get the revolver action and revolver. There we go. Now the revolver's in the scene, and we also want to bring the arms in. So we're gonna link yet again. Go find wherever your arms are. Mine are in player arms. Grab that guy. Collection. FPS arms. Bring them in. Okay. Click on the object you want to use. Object override. Make. There we go. And what that gives us is the ability to then come in here, pose it, and we can do changes with it. But any changes we make in the file we linked back to will reflect in this file here. Any animations will get pulled over, and it's just great. And do the same thing with the revolver 2. Here we go. Before I get this guy into position, I'm just going to try and set up the editor just so it's how I typically like it. Timeline. Do the thing and fight with it, and we'll get there eventually. Oh. Okay, we want to do that. Cool. This guy's gonna be a action dope sheet. We're gonna put that to action mode. We're then gonna pull from the side. My mouse is going haywire today, guys. Then we're gonna pull that guy over here. We're gonna go up here and we're gonna do NLA editor. This is just how I roll. Your setup does not have to look like this, but this is how mine looks often. Once you have your revolver roughly where you want it, you want to go ahead and click on the rig and create a new action. We're going to call this idle. It's going to say idle 1 because I've already got an idle 1. That's stupid. Kill him first. Kill him. Rename this guy back to idle groovy taters. Clicking X will not kill it. It'll just remove it from the current stash. Okay, here we are. We're back to this thing. This is just a rant at this point. So we have an idle animation. We want to press K and location rotation. Fudge it. We'll probably do it about 40. Do it there as well. So now this guy's going to stay in this position. That's the idle animation. Well done, you did a great job. The arms will also need an idle animation, but before we crack on with that, we're going to go ahead and click on the hand control bone. We're going to go to constraints. We're going to do child of. We're going to pick the pistol rig. No, not the pistol mesh. Okay, it's called armature. Don't worry about it. You'll survive. And then we're going to click on root and then set inverse. Everyone does that. Don't know what it does. I think we'll survive, guys. Don't worry about it. Get this guy roughly where you want him to be. Don't worry. The revolver is humongous. We can fix that in post. Stop saying that. I'm just gonna, fuck it. Let's fix it. All right. Click on the rig of the revolver. So you're not happy with the sides. It looks a bit chungus-y. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna press S, and we're just gonna make sure we're currently selecting our active transform. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, my issue is this is a rookie move. Click on your revolver, press Alt G and Alt R, then go to object mode and physically move the armature where you want it to be. We want it to be, what do we say about there? That's probably ridiculous. Whoa, okay, like old Skull Doom. All right, he's in position now. Now he's in position. We should be, there we go. We can shrink him down now. Sweet. Let's just disconnect. No, that'll be fine. Shrink him down a smidge. See, about there looks a little better, but that looks even better. Okay. Being mindful of what scale we set, we're going to grab that scale there. We're then going to go back to our revolver file, open recent revolver, grab this dude here. Grab all of them, right? You can press S to start shrinking him down, and then down here you can just whoop, make it so it's all that size. He's now in the wrong position. I often like to just, get him back to where he was. Control A, location, Control A, scale. Go back to the, no, don't revert it. No, open recent, play arms revolver. Whoa, what's happened to the little kipper? He's absolutely tiny now. Don't worry about it. Reset his location and stuff, get him where he was, and then the scale you want to set back to 1, because now in the other file he is the correct size. So yeah, cool. Look at that. There he is. He's much smaller now, and he's the correct size. Awesome. All right, so now we're back in the arm and weapon animating scene. We need to create an animation for the arms so they know where they should idle. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the arms. We're going to create a new idle. I'm going to call this arm idle. Cool beans. Protect that. and shove it down into the stack. Okay, you can't do that yet. That was a trick question. It needs to have frames before you can do that. So on frame 1, I only really care about the control bones because they're the only ones that are going to deform the rig. Let's just make sure that's the correct one. Cool. Okay, so this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. We're going to press K, set location rotation, and then let's say about in 40 frames, or however long the idle animation was as well. I'm going to set that there too. Now we can go ahead and tweak how this is actually going to look in frame. So we're going to probably want the arm down like that. And since this is going to be a one-handed weapon, I would typically just get that left arm out of the way like that. And we're just going to press K on that. And you know what? That should be fine. You're going to see it's going to try and smudge back into this position. Dead easy. Copy those original frames, put them over here, and slap them right there. Now we have an idle animation. So you're also going to want to just shove that down into the stack. Okay, cool. So let's sorry. You're going to want to put the NLA strip down to the stack by pressing the button I just pressed. So now we'll see that if we try and move the pistol rig, it should work with it. Remember, this was thanks to the child-of constraint, which is attached to the control bone over here. I can move this around something silly up here, and then if I go back to the pistol, you'll see it's going to copy it. Let's not do that. We're quite happy with where it is already. That is the set inverse. The set inverse basically sets like an anchor that this guy's going to connect to in relation to the bone it's a child of. I'd recommend Googling that yourself. Let's crack on. So, bearing in mind this tutorial was for Godot, this would also translate probably pretty well to Unity and Unreal, but let's move on to the next phase here. We have an idle animation. We want to make sure this looks how we want it to look in Engine as well as it does in Blender. So for this next phase, I would actually recommend doing an export. There's a couple of things I'd like to do before that, prerequisites if you will. In the extrapolation, set that to nothing on both of the animations, so the arm animations and the weapon animations. We're then going to go ahead and click on the arm rig. I have it set up to Control-Shift-E, so I can export it as whatever I have it exported as, but exporting as GLTF. And then I have an exports folder here. This is going to be an arm animation, so I'm going to put in the arm animation. So here are my export settings. I have it set to this preset here, but I'm going to go down and break through every single thing in this menu. I'm not going to tell you what they do. I'm just going to say how I'd recommend putting them as. This has worked great for me. I can just export an animation. It pre-bakes everything. The modifiers, yeah, it just works good. Okay, so starting off, I think the most important one is animation. Optimize animation. Feel free to pause on each of these submenus to get exactly how my settings are. I don't think these settings matter, but I'm just going to flick through them dead quick, just in case they have a difference. I changed so many settings to try and get this just right, and I don't want you guys to miss out on this. This is probably important. Okay, awesome. You got that there? Let's give that an export. We're then also going to go ahead and grab the pistol, Control-Shift-E again. This time I saved this to a different folder. These are item animations, so I'm just going to rename this slightly different. This is going to be Revolver Animations, like that. And then same again, those exact same export settings. I would have recommended putting them by saving them here and saving through a preset. There you go. Export that also. Awesome. We have those animations exported. Okay, we're in Godot now. This is where it gets a little bit more technical, and this also will differentiate depending on what kind of setup your game has. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and find the rifle class. So here we are. This is the rifle here. This is already set up to play the weapon animation, but then also inform the player's arm rig what animation it needs to play. Like for example, there's no rifle animation here, but I'm idling in the rifle animation. You see? Cool beans. So let's go ahead and find where rifle exists in the scene, in the project editor. So we see we got rifle here. I'm just going to go right click and I'm going to duplicate. There we go. I'm going to call this Revolver. Cool. Let's go into Revolver. here we are. We have revolver. That's not right. It still looks like a rifle. Don't worry about it. We need to go, in my example, I go into assets and I need to export a copy of the revolver. So let's go to revolver. There we go. Into revolver, we're gonna open in File Explorer. And then we're also gonna go, we need to go ahead and find the, model here that's going to receive the animations we made of this rig. So let's hop over to recent files, go over to revolver. I'm going to press A to select everything, Control Shift E. Now these export settings are a little different. I'm going to let you just, this only applies to the weapon itself. You only want these settings. So yet again, I'm going to go flick through these, take your time, make sure they're all there. Excellent. And once again, I would recommend saving that to a different preset. So this thing's going to get exported. It's going to be called revolver. I'm going to export that revolver. We now want to go ahead and grab a copy of that revolver. So in my situation, it's game dev, yeah man, weapons, exports, revolver. There we go. Grab that fella, slap him in here. Now back over in Blender, we have revolver here. Just a little bit of cleanup. You don't necessarily have to do this. It depends on what your setup is. I do not want to extract all the settings. So we're just going to redo that. Just going to clear these guys out. And here we go. So back in the revolver node, under graphics, I'm going to slap my revolver here. And then we can go ahead and get rid of rifle. And we have our revolver. Woohoo! Couple things to note. We don't have an animator. How's it going to know what to animate? That's fine. We can fix that. Click back on revolver. And what I often do is I will select the root node, remove immutable tracks, set rest pose as reset. All it basically does is it creates a reset pose of what the revolver does by default. However it was exported, whatever keyframe it was on is the reset pose. But that gives us the option to add an animator here. But we need to give it some animations. It doesn't have animations. So you remember earlier when we were in this file here, we exported some pistol animations and arm animations. Let's go pull them through. So in this situation, in my file system, the revolver animations don't necessarily go here. I tell a lie, yes they do. Let's go ahead and grab them ones. So let's go open this folder here. We're going to want to go to wherever we exported the pistols or the weapons animations. I'm getting confused here. So it'd be under player, exports, item animations, revolver animations. Yeah, we just wanna slap them into revolver. There we go, cool. All right, here we are. Now we have the revolver animations. Couple things we want to know. If I go ahead straight away and assign him to be a animation library, and I re-import, this isn't going to play nice. You'll see why. Because if I load the animations, yet again, weapons, assets, revolver, animations, yeah, got the idle animation here. Nothing's there. What's that all about? Well, it's because those frames didn't do anything. So let's go back to this one here, remove immutable tracks, get rid of him, and then re-import, apply rest pose. Re-import, cool. Now he's moved around. What's going on? Easy fix, don't worry about it. But there's another caveat to this. There's a lot of moving parts in this, don't worry about it. Right now, his root position is trying to set him to where we had him. You remember how it was 0 to the origin of the blend file, but then we moved him? It's trying to do that translation here. We don't want that. So let's go into revolver animations, set actions, set animation paths. We're going to create a new folder here called animations. I'm going to set current folder, set paths, re-import. Awesome. Now if we go back to the animator here, the idle animation, we can uncheck the root, rotation and location, and he's centered back on 0. Hell yeah. Well done. That's a good thing. That took ages to figure out, but look, you guys learned it straight away. Good for you. So that's the revolver animations taken care of. We're probably going to want to rename some things here. Oh, Godot crashed. We love it. Okay, one important thing I forgot to mention is back in the revolver animations, you just want to make sure that keep custom tracks is on. I guess you can do it on that one too. But every time you have an animation for the pistol or the item, you're going to want to make sure it keeps custom tracks as well as it being saved to file. Just re-import that one. It's going to have unset the changes we did. Don't worry. Now it knows to remember them. Cool, we're back to where we was. In my case, I'm going to rename this to revolver, like so. And there's a couple of things we need to assign. We need to assign the animation player there. And then we also want to just see if we can pick this up and no errors happen. So let's come over to here, grab this cube here, duplicate that. We're going to set the weapon pickup. We're going to quick load, revolver, scene. Let's see if I can pick that up without it crashing. It might crash, don't worry about it. Nope, we picked it up. We can't shoot though yet because it doesn't know what animations to give to the arms. That's our next thing. So we're going to go over to the character, assets, create a new folder in here. We're going to call this revolver. In revolver, we're going to open file manager. Boom. Then we also are going to want to find the arm rig animation. So game dev, Yarnum, weapon, sorry, I keep making that mistake, I apologize. Arm animations, and then see we've got revolver here. Grab that guy, slap him in here. We can shut that down now. Awesome. Go to the player. Arm animations here. There's going to be nothing for him to have just yet, but this is where we're going to be assigning the arm animations. So in player arm revolver, very similar process. We're going to open him up. And actions, set animation paths, create a new folder. We're going to call this animations. Save that, set current folder, import paths. And we need to come to the skeleton rig now. Assign a bone map. You should already have one assigned to your rig. There we go. So skeleton 3D. That's what I'm not going to tell you to do that. That's worthwhile going and researching. Bone maps are really good for retargeting animations to different rigs. Super useful. So that's all in there now. We need to set the skeleton 3D. That's the node he's going to look for. That's probably okay. We'll see if that messes things up. And then in here, same again, import as rest pose. We don't want any textures. It's just an animation. And then lastly, again, import animation tree. Awesome. Re-import that sucker. Sweet. Go back to our arms rig now. Come over here. And we want to add the revolvers animations. So we're going to come out of here, go to characters, player, assets, revolver animations. Cool, he's added it. See, we have now revolver animation, arm rest. Look at that, he's now in position. Okay, here we go. And when all that's done, depending on how you're calling that animation, you pick this up, you now have a revolver in your hand. So you want to talk about, are you happy with where it sits? Because I got my pistol pretty close and my revolver's pretty far away. So we might want to make some changes. We might want to bring the revolver closer. This is why it's important for the rest pose, which will be the reference poses for the rest of your animations. You want to make sure it's in a good position. In this scenario, nah, not happy with it. So let's go ahead and change it. We want to be mindful of where we're going to put this because this will have drastic effects. Yet again, on the rig, we're not changing where it is on the arm because the arm is going to look at where the pistol's root is. So on here, I often like to bring it into this kind of camera view as well. So it wants to come back a smidge, come to the left a smidge, come up a smidge, I think. Let's just double check that. We want to be sure when we do this. Because every time we want to make these changes, we're going to have to re-import the rig entirely. I think that's correct. So we've got that one there, that one there, that one there, that one there. Cool beans. Okie dokie. Alright, so we've got an animation in game for a new weapon. Congratulations, you did a great job. This wasn't so much a tutorial, more just showing you that, well, it was a tutorial, but showing you the pitfalls that I've run into in the past. You know, he's in the wrong place. I have a system in the background that will reorientate and position the weapon correctly. But that's beside the point. If there's any questions about anything I've done in this, please let me know. I will do a more thorough topic video around the suggestions. This was just a spitball, just to show you the entire workflow that goes into creating one of these weapons. Not the programming side of it, the animation side of it. I think the animation side of this often gets lost. People get confused with the pistol exporting, making the animation so its root and rotation is zeroed, and also the exporting of the actual rigs and pistols animations. People obviously often don't go into the baking or the applying the constraints before the export. This video covered all of that. It was pretty brief, but yeah. So yeah, there you go. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Have a good day.